Today is a really good day because I got this tube in the mail and it's got 2 Kistler rods inside of it. So we're going to open them up. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with these 2 rods. Alright, so there's 2 rods in this tube, 2 Kistler rods. I needed a couple more rods going into the spring. I needed another crankbait rod, and I needed another topwater rod. And so I made a purchase. This is about $500 worth of rods in here. Each of these are about $250 a piece, and they are worth every dime. I already have these 2 rod models. I haven't done a review on them yet, but they are really good. They are the Feel and Reel and the Tops and Tails rods. So let's go ahead and open this up and I'm gonna show them to you. We're gonna get right into it. All right, this is the funnest part. Boy. And when you order your Kistler rods, they're always gonna be shipped just like this. You're gonna open them up just like this. They're bubble wrapped, and, at the tops, the bottoms, and in the middle, they're really wrapped up really good. Which is good. You don't want these breaking. They come in a really strong, sturdy tube. Never had one broke when I received it. Never had the tube damaged or anything major like that. This first one is a KLX Tops and Tails special. Now this rod is so awesome. First of all, it's a 6'9" medium action, moderate fast. So let's just talk about that right from the get-go. Or actually, I guess first we should talk about what I'm going to do with this. It's called a Tops and Tails rod. So it means for top water, and tails, I guess, would mean jerk baits, because that's really what it's designed for, in my opinion. Top water and jerk baits. And the rod is specifically made for really anything with a treble hook. And it's a moderate fast action, which really what means is it's going to have a lot of bend all the way down into the rod. And that helps you when you're working a crankbait or a jerk bait or anything with treble hooks. It'll keep those fish pinned up a little bit longer. Really good rod here. The bend goes all the way down, almost halfway. And then you start hitting that backbone. Really soft tip, super soft tip. And that's what I got. This is the second rod that I have, this Tops and Tails special. And I wanted 2. I wanted 2 jerk or top water rods for 2 different kinds of presentations. Like I said, medium, moderate, fast, 6'9". Now why is 6'9" such a big deal? And why when you're working a jerk bait or a top water lure, does the length of the rod make a difference? It's pretty simple actually. When you're working a top water rod, you're actually jerking the rod down towards the water. Same thing with a jerk bait. A longer rod is going to splash the water, and just make yourself a little bit louder. It's not ideal. So you want a little bit shorter rod so you can work it a little bit easier. The rod is rated for lures an 1/8 ounce all the way up to 3/4, and it's recommended to use 10 to 15 pound line. I use 12 pound mono, 15 pound mono, and 10 pound fluorocarbon. Jerk baits get 10 pound fluorocarbon. Some top waters get 12 pound mono. Some top waters get 15 pound mono. You can also use braid on this. I would use 20 pound braid if you want to throw like a walking bait or something like that. Really awesome rod. A solid hook keeper there. Cork is phenomenal, super clean. This looks really good. Fuji guides on it. Just a really good rod for a multitude of different applications. Really anything with treble hooks, but more specifically, top waters, poppers, walking baits, and jerk baits. The Megabass 110, the Lucky Craft 78. I threw the Lucky Craft 78 a lot, and this will absolutely sling it. You know, that's a light lure, but this rod will still sling it. A lot of people like to look at your reel for how far you can cast a lure, but your rod, the tip of that rod, plays a gigantic role in how far you can cast. And because of the tip of this rod is so springy, that helps you cast a lot further. And again, it also helps you keep those fish pinned up when you got them hooked. Tops and Tails special, really nice. Really great work. Guides are all super good. Let's check the guides, make sure they're straight. I'm positive they're straight. I don't even have to look. I have so many Kistler rods. It's like just 6 back there. I've got like 20 in my rod box. So these are really good. I trust them. I know this rod works because I've used it before. I'd highly recommend it if you're looking for a topwater rod or really anything with treble hooks. All right, next up is the Kistler Feeling Reel. Now, I've used this rod exclusively for my crankbaits for the past, it's been a year or so. I never throw a crankbait rod on anything, or I never throw a crankbait on anything other than a feeling reel. Really, really awesome rod. Look at that. And we talked about the feeling reels before and the tip and how, you know, it's kind of a 2-part rod, fiberglass and then glass all combined together. Just a phenomenal rod. It has a specific kind of texture to it. And the big deal on the feeling reel is kind of similar to the Tops and Tails rod, is this tip. This tip is extremely springy. Now the backbone on this rod starts a little bit higher. It's not a moderate fast, actually. It's called a medium heavy. It's actually not even listed on here. It doesn't have an action listed on it. But it's kind of a modified action. It's gonna the backbone of this rod is gonna start about right here. Yeah. It's gonna start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guides from the top. So pretty quick tip. But it keeps those fish pinned. It really does. This is a great crankbait rod. This is a medium heavy 6'8". Now let's talk about that. Medium heavy is a good crankbait rod. That, along with a really good tip, is going to help keep fish pinned. But the big thing about the 6'8" is I can be a lot more accurate with a 6'8" than a 7-foot rod. You wouldn't think 4 inches would make a big deal, but it does. It really, really does. I can put a KVD 1.5 wherever I want it to go. With a 6'8". I've gotten so good at casting, and I can put it on a dime with a shorter rod. So that's what I got the 6'8" for. More specifically, I got this to throw 2.5s with, a little bit larger crankbaits. So I'm going to do a lot more. I made my decision this year to crank a lot more. I believe that I've been missing out on some fish because I'm not cranking enough. So that's one of my goals for this year, is just to crank more. So I kind of upped my crankbait arsenal a little bit this year with this feeling reel 6'8" medium heavy from Kistler. And like I said, I've already had this rod, so I believe in it. I trust it. I've caught numerous fish with this exact same rod model, and it works. It's a really phenomenal rod. Matter of fact, here it is right here. It's already tied up. I'm getting ready to tie it up for this weekend. Same exact rod, very same rod. I've been using it. It is an absolute workhorse. And here's the rod's big brother. Same exact rod. This is a 7'2" model. I use this for bombing 5XDs and really bigger medium diving crankbaits. So 3 of the exact same rods right here, just kind of upping my arsenal a little bit. As a tournament angler, we all know how important it is to have, you know, multiple rods, even if you're for the same presentation. That way, if you break off, you got one already tied on. That way you can have the same bait tied on in different colors, you know. So it's really important for that. And that's kind of what I wanted to do to make sure I'm covered in all areas. I will say real quick about the feeling reel. I love the hook keepers on the feeling reel series. I think Kistler is most of their rod models have this, what they call the spring, I think it's called a spring lock keeper. It's pretty much, so if you ever have any slack in your line, it's gonna keep your hook pinned in here, so when it's bouncing around in your rod locker, you know, your treble hooks or your Texas rig hooks or anything is not gonna fall off and get, you know, hung up in the carpet or any of the line or anything. So I really like the spring lock keepers. Fuji reel seat, you know, that's a standard now for Kistler, nothing but the best. Quart handles, and again, that texture feeling, it's just, I haven't felt that. Of course, I don't use any other rods, so I don't know if anybody else does that or not, but I love the way this feels, this textured feeling. Super perfect guides. These are all custom built, really good. Everything's perfect on them. And like I said, I trust them. If you need a crankbait rod, you really need to look at the Feeling Reel series. Now, both of these rods are about $250 a piece. Kistler runs sales all the time. You can get them for a little bit cheaper. If you want a top of the line crankbait rod or really anything to do with treble hooks, you need to look at these two rods. Now, real quick, what are we gonna do? What kind of reel and setup are we gonna actually put on these? I actually have this is the Tops and Tails rod. It's gonna be for my top waters. I'm gonna pair it up with a Shimano Corrado 200. We're gonna actually throw that on here right now. This is gonna be my popper rod. So we're gonna put 12-pound mono on this, and that's that. That's gonna be a beautiful setup. Shimano and Kistler go great together. That's an awesome setup. That's that's solid. I'm looking forward to throwing that this weekend a little bit. Maybe not as much top water. I might have to try to put a jerkbait on. It's still kind of cold down here. But when it comes time for top water, I'm really confident in this setup. I'm really confident that when I get a bite, they're gonna stay pinned. You know, you fight the fish like you need to fight a fish correctly. They stay pinned up on a Kistler rod. Really they do. Mainly because of that super soft tip. Yeah. As far as the Feeling Reel, what we're gonna put on it, I have a Shimano SLX coming in the mail to put on this 6:4 to 1 gear ratio. The gear ratio on that Shimano Corrado 200 is an 8.5 to 1? Whatever the yes, it's the super, I think it's 8.5 to 1. They're very fast. On a top water reel, when you're fishing top water, you need a fast gear ratio reel. The gear ratio I'm going to use for this is 6.4 to 1 because when you're throwing big crankbaits, you need a little bit more torque. I like the crank with the 7 1 to 1, or even as high as I have done it with an 8.5 to 1. But when you're cranking big, bulky crankbaits, you need a little bit lower gear ratio. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself out over the course of the day because it becomes harder and harder to crank with a higher gear ratio the bigger the bait gets. So 6.4 to 1 Shimano SLX is coming in the mail. Hopefully that'll be here later in this week, and I'll pair that up at that time. And I'm looking forward to throwing a lot more crankbaits this year with the Kistler Feeling Reel. So that's that. That's two rods. Appreciate you guys watching. I hope this can help you make an educated decision on if you're looking for a new rod or a new crankbait rod or a new topwater rod. Hopefully I can help you make an educated purchase. Rods aren't inexpensive. So it's quite an investment, and that's what I consider these as. These are an investment for me. You know, I kind of save up here and there to try to, you know, buy the rods that I think are better. I'd rather have one really expensive rod that I trust and I know is going to be there for me than some cheap rod that's not sensitive and, you know, that uses cheap eyes that are going to crack and break my line. You know, in the fishing industry, I truly feel like you pay for what you get. And that's true with Kistler. You pay for what you get. That's that. Appreciate you watching. Boom shakalaka. Real soon.